internet and so clear they had a
Might have been
usually just
recording,
a
but
credit card.
Okay. Now it is. It should be. All right.
Our daughter was down there trying, we were going to go to a restaurant.
Okay, so it's not streaming right now? It's not? No. So, all right. Well,
They're trying to get the parking.
so minimize that.
They went into the restaurant, and she's trying to get the parking.
Go to your
She finally got it.
video.
And when she came back to her car, she had a ticket. In a
So
short time, it
go
took her to
back
get the
to
ticket.
your YouTube.
She got a ticket. No. And so she did call the city and take it in.
I'm wondering if she's got,
You can't read it 'cause it's signed.
That says, this says live.
And then, but the younger generation, I mean, part of.
Oh, yeah, they go, well, yeah.
Who's in, my granddaughter's Lowe's.
so
We got
go,
supper. Next thing you know, my phone buzzing, and I look down and she's.
no, go back to YouTube
Hey, Grandpa, where are you? I said, no, I'm
and
right there. I showed her, oh, all right.
I had
this.
a weird thing from my cousin, my friend, a shop here.
And do email.
My phone's unlocked, I'll get a notification, or if my car's unlocked, I'll get a notification. The phone doesn't work. So I thought,
Go to, oh, I was going to say go to Gmail. Is that,
if you push the button,
okay, go back. I just want to, okay.
but they're like 10 minutes trying to get internet.
I'm going to just look and see. Oh.
Phone, it should say don't
I want to cross my phone.
I mean, it's not,
Okay.
it's like a blonde system to me.
Well, that does serve some purposes. I have a car, one of those little Thunderbirds, with a Ford, they made it for 4 years. I've had it for 2 years. I parked it in garage, I did something, and left the light on, so the battery was dead.
Right.
So I said, well, I gotta charge the battery, which was fine, I have a charger in my garage, but the battery's in the trunk. The only way to unlock the trunk is electric, there's no key. So how the hell do I get in the trunk? I mean, I got in the car and nothing worked. I used the key thing, nothing worked.
So what do you do?
I got out the manual and I read through it, the manual was useless.
Didn't say like a workaround?
It was kind of a general manual for Fords. It's one of the worst manuals I've ever seen. So, I got on the internet.
And they told
But I
you.
said, 2002 Thunderbird, battery dead.
Okay, all right, thank you.
It had it right there.
And some guy had done a video.
Just Deborah Ebal
He said, well,
is
here's what
on,
you do. And he had
but members of the committee,
the front sheet for
Ariane is excused, and I just called Richard, and he's going to get on Zoom. Okay.
And
How many
talking
people
to
are?
another guy.
Um, 3, 5. Okay. So Mr. Beck's on the committee. Yes. Okay, so you should, you should actually be at the table. Because anything you say, we want to make sure we pick up in the mud. Okay. So
Garbage disposal.
I'm just waiting for Richard to get on Zoom. Okay. Okay, so you're good. Okay. Because you've got a quorum. Yes.
6 children.
Okay.
They're downstairs. Powder room.
Okay.
It's just lagging.
Yeah. Do you want to Okay, we can call the meeting to order, and Dave, if you just, this is our first time doing this, so we've done some tests. We have to
Testing, 1, 2, 3.
talk directly into the microphone.
Yes, Rodney?
Barry?
Rodney?
Okay. All right,
Okay, I'm going to call the Pickleball Facility Committee meeting to order. This, we hope will be our last meeting. I think the committee has served its purpose. We have investigated the different sites locally that might have been a possibility for the development of dedicated pickleball courts, which is obviously a great need in this area and region. At this point, we need to approve the minutes from the previous meeting on 6/2. Has everybody had a chance to read the minutes?
Yeah, I don't have them with me.
I hear a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, minutes are approved. Okay, the only facility or possible location that we have not really discussed at any length is the possibility of a facility on University of Delaware land or the land that borders New Road. And the land that borders New Road, which is kind of behind part of Great Marsh Park, it's kind of bordered by Park Road and New Road, and I think Janet was going to check into what the status of that land is. I understand it is supposed to be designated open space, but we wanted some more detailed information as to what that meant. So Janet, do you have any?
So what I was able to find out is that it is zoned agricultural. There was discussion several years ago. A soccer group had inquired about that space for soccer fields, and that was not seen favorably by the residents and citizens of Lewis at public hearing, from what information I was able to receive. So, it has been looked at. It has not been looked at for pickleball. Ariane could not be with us today, but she did send in some comments, so I can just read those for the record. If it is determined that there are suitable locations near New Road, Park Road, or in the vicinity of the University of Delaware, Ariane feels that lighted courts would not be appropriate and would be out of character for the rural areas at the edge of the city of Lewis. Lighted courts would impact the serenity and quiet lifestyle of the existing homes, as well as the apartments near the Burden Center.
I think the other issue with locating pickleball courts really close to residential areas is the noise. Actually, pickleball is, I would say, is a little louder than tennis. Wouldn't you say, Dave? Anyway, those are two things that I've heard. Anyway.
Well, nevertheless, because it's zoned agricultural, we would have to go and get request a zoning change,
Correct.
and that would require public hearings and that whole process.
Correct.
And just as it did with the soccer folks, you'd have to have a public meeting and give people an opportunity to make their feelings heard, and the sense is that probably people are going to react the same to pickleballs as they did to soccer courts out there, soccer fields. And soccer fields, I don't even think they were talking about being lit at night. They were just talking about having them there.
As I remember, they didn't want to have them lit at night. That was one of the big problems, objections to it, was the lighting. The other thing is, of course, the soccer field is a big field, and parking around a big field would have been more difficult, so.
With lots of parking. Yeah.
Well, and I did a little review of the feasibility studies and what was being asked for, and we had determined 8 courts, and the pickleball community is really looking for 12 courts because they were hoping for tournament-size recreational facility. So I think that certainly we would not be able to meet the request for 12 courts, and we're struggling with 8 courts.
And then the only other potential site was at the University of Delaware, and I think we discussed that at our last meeting, but
I think we did. I know that there was discussion of the University of Delaware land kind of across from where the DeVries Monument is. And that has been looked at for other opportunities, and the university was not in favor of that. So again, if the committee feels that those 2 items are worth approaching the University of Delaware, or going to look at rezoning and then going to public hearings for the Park Road, New Road land.
yeah, I'm not sure we're prepared to do that. It sounds like that we've really exhausted all our options. I mean, that doesn't mean that there aren't options that might come about in future, and that there could be some private options, private land or whatever. But this group has looked at a number of facilities. We looked at Cape Hamilton State Park. We looked at University of Delaware land. We looked at the library. We looked at the Sussex Land Trust land that was on Route 9, that was part of the feasibility study that was done a number of years ago by Ernie Lopez's office. We looked at Cape Middle and checked that out, and they've used every space in that whole campus, and they actually indicated to me that they needed more space. We looked at Blockhouse Pond, and a few private sites were suggested but not really followed through on. This group determined the specs, and Rodney was very helpful in that, so we know how much land we need. I think we're at a point where we need to give a report or recommendation to the Recreation and Parks Commission, and I think it boils down to does the city want to satisfy the local needs for pickleball, and if so, how are we going to do that? Comments, questions? I mean, I think we're kind of at a stopping point. I think this committee was developed to investigate the possibility and look at sites for developing dedicated pickleball courts for the city of Lewis. And I think we've done that, and I think it's time to give a report to the Parks and Recreation Commission, and, you know, I think our work is done at this point.
Well, we came up with, one of the first things we did, as you said, yes.
I think you have to get
Sorry.
closer.
One of the first things we did, as you said, was come up with a program. And we determined as a group, and I think from what we heard from others, that 8 courts would satisfy the need for city residents to have a good place to play. And parking, if it was available or shared. And that was the program we went after. The comment that the pickleball community, now whoever that is, I don't know, is that are we talking about the organization in the county and the state, or is it just the majority of pickleball players want 12 courts?
It was from Kathy Casey,
Who's the president of the First State
Pickleball, right, that they were approaching the city of Lewis for the possibility of 12 outdoor pickleball courts in the overhead structure.
Right.
The Sussex County Land Trust opted out of putting pickleball courts at the Hudson Park location. So I think that was the origin of their request.
They had that big study done by WRT.
Correct.
which we looked at.
Which we're aware of, but that then fizzled, basically,
Correct, yes.
because the land trust didn't want to pursue it.
They opted out, is what.
They opted out.
Yeah, those were the words of Kathy Casey, that they opted out of putting pickleball courts on the Hudson Park location. That was off of Route 9.
Then there was also, because my point is, we're trying to find space within the city for people in the city to play that are dedicated. And, you know, if it's 8, if it's 6, whatever we could come up with, we thought 8 would be the good number. Our job is not searching to satisfy
Regional needs.
the regional need.
Right.
Which would be for 12, I would
Which would
think.
be, I think what we're hearing is that's for 12. There was also, didn't the state offer land down by the sanitary treatment area?
Yes, and my understanding is, talking with Pat Cooper, that was turned down. I do not know for what reason. Ray Bivens, who is with the parks, had suggested that they come to Great Marsh Park or come to the city, and suggested Great Marsh Park as an option, and we've talked about that with this committee many times, and the city's need to develop a master plan, but that's going to take time.
Pardon me. Now,
Right.
sooner than later.
So can we say that the Great Marsh Park looks like the only city land that might be available in the future, but it requires a master plan, which requires public participation
Correct.
in order to do that?
Correct.
Okay.
I would add that time is of the essence with that. With the Great Marsh Park is actually leased land, I believe, from the state.
It is.
And
It's a
we're already-
20.
And I think it's a 20-year lease.
20.
It is a 20-year lease.
With a
yes.
possibility of another 20, but I think we're more than halfway through the first 20-year lease. And
Yeah.
there was an attempt made to have a meeting out at the park or set up ideas what
Yeah,
to
we
do
did
with
that,
it.
and we did a survey.
Yeah, and it kind of went
I just
away.
want to remind everybody that you have to be close to the microphone. I know it's the first meeting, sorry.
Well, I mean, that's just my comment on it, so.
Yeah.
So does everybody agree that we're kind of at a stopping point and that we should I mean, I'm happy to sit down with Janet and maybe Rodney and sort of summarize what we've done in this committee and report back to Rec and Parks, and they can comment and say, hey, we need to, aggressively look for more land or whatever, because obviously it's a great need, and I would think that the Parks and Recreation Commission would want to address the need.
I think that space-wise, Great Marsh Park is probably, as Rodney said, the option, but again, that would have to be a recommendation to Parks and Rec, and then it would have to go back to public hearings. I know we did the survey a couple of years ago, I think it was 2017, and that response was overwhelmingly for passive recreation. So, pardon? Carolyn, did you say?
We can't hear you at all.
You can't hear us at all?
Nope, you faded out.
Okay.
Keep talking, let me see.
Okay. So I think that that's the likely option, but there are a lot of steps that have to be taken to get to that point. So, that could be put in the report recommendation to Park and Recs.
So this report, this summary report, goes to the Parks and Recreation Commissioners to discuss it, and then what happens? Does it then?
Then they decide, that group, I think, decides what they want to do. I think it was in Parks and Recreation. It was an issue. You and I decided to develop this committee to look at the whole situation in terms of satisfying the need, and we've done our work, and now I think we need to go back to the commission and say, hey, this is what we found out, here's the specs we came up with, we're kind of at a dead end at this point, here's where we are, you guys need to decide what you want to do. I don't think it's up to us to decide.
Right.
Does that sound?
Yeah, I'm just trying to make sure I understand the process. So if Parks and Recreation says, yeah, but we need to have this facility, then does it get turned into the city real estate office or somebody to go looking for land, or,
Maybe,
Well, I think, if the Parks and Rec Commission feels that we should move forward with Great Marsh Park, that's one avenue. And then we would, do the master plan, we would have to go back to public hearings and get interest. It's a process. If they say, well, the committee has done their due diligence and we don't have public land that will accommodate the number of courts and parking and shade structure and bathrooms, then I think it stops there, and we have what we have with the tennis courts that are striped for pickleball courts.
or we go to other resources like Sussex County, the state, was it with Sandy Springs or whatever the... Sand Hill, the developer, what's his name?
Shell.
Shell, I guess, donated the land, and then, they have a beautiful facility. There's no reason why that couldn't happen here or on the edge of, 5 Points or on the edge of Lewis. I think, there's other options that we can entertain that might be quicker. The other thing that we could somehow investigate or entertain is, what about some of these developers that are, building these 300, house facilities like Tower Hill? They're required to do 10% open space. Maybe they donate more land and put a pickleball facility there. I mean, I think there's options.
Don't you feel at this point as an ad hoc committee, you were specifically given exactly what it is you were supposed to go after? And as an ad hoc committee, having been the chair of an ad hoc committee, you fulfilled your obligation by pursuing everything you were supposed to pursue. And at this point, wouldn't it be your advantage to turn it back over to the PRC and let them take it from there?
Yes, that's what I'm suggesting.
That's really where you are, I think.
We're done.
Yeah.
Yes, seriously, you are, because as an ad hoc committee, and I was an ad hoc committee for a couple of things, you've done exactly what they asked you to do, you're done.
Great.
Dave, did you have something?
Well, I was just going to say that there are a number of developers who are putting in pickleball courts, but they're private developments, and unless you happen to know somebody who lives there who invites you to play there, you can't play there. And so the other thing I was going to say is the school districts. I mean, as you probably know, they redid Rehoboth Elementary School. They put 4 pickleball courts in there, and they are chock full every day.
But they don't let people play during school hours.
That's true. During school hours, they don't play there. But at least they're there. Most of the play, obviously, is in the summer.
Right.
And the school is closed in the summer, so it's not a problem in that respect. And you can play at Rehoboth after 4 or 4:30 in the afternoon, even when school is on. So I'm just. It occurs to me that all the new school buildings that have gone up recently or are in the process of going up, they might be able to make room for a few pickleball courts. That would be nice.
I think we had a question in the chat. Can you? Yeah. Uh-huh.
It says, can you please explain the procedures for further exploring a pickleball court within the city of Lewis? Thank you. I want to better understand the process.
Okay, so Deborah Evalds from the chat room asked that we explain the process for further discussion of the
Explain the procedures for further exploring a pickleball court within the city of Lewis.
well, I think.
Go to Recreation and Parks.
Yeah, I think,
Board.
I'm not sure when the question came in because I'm not sitting at that computer, but again, we're making, as Councilwoman Jones said, we've done our due diligence with the task that was put before this committee. So it will go back to the Parks and Recreation Commission, a report out to them, and then the commission would decide.
Do we need a motion, or should we just concur that we're going to do that report?
I think you can do a motion that we've.
Do I hear a motion that we submit our recommendations and report to the next Recreation and Parks Board meeting?
Yes. Did you make the motion, or did?
I'm asking.
I make the motion that we believe we'd accomplished our task, and we will prepare a summary report and submit it to the Parks and Recreation Commission.
Is that?
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Yes.
Okay,
I think we're done.
all right.
I appreciate everybody's input and diligence in investigating possibilities. Hopefully, there's other options that we can pursue through Parks and Recreation.
Carolyn, did you?
No, I just say, it's officially over when he
Okay.
said.
Yes, thank you.
So,
Appreciate your comment, Carolyn.
I will, maybe we can get together. We have a Parks and Rec Commission meeting on the 19th, so
the agenda has to be posted by Monday next week, so, or we could put it on for the August Parks and Rec Commission meeting so that we have time to do a comprehensive report.
I think if we're going to do a report, we should prepare it and get it to the commissioners in time for them to read it
Right.
and digest it so that they can come to any meeting with questions
Okay.
or suggestions.
So then we'll put that on the August
On the August.
agenda, and then we'll have
There's
time
no
to,
sense of urgency.
right, okay. Adjourned?
So moved.
The pickleball facility committee meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
So our next P&R meeting is
Yeah,
the 19th?
I think so.
Just off the record now, I did contact Kathy Casey about this business out on Route 9.
Oh, yeah?
And she said, yeah, the Sussex County Land Trust did back away. And this is what she quoted. She said, they wanted to keep that land open and passive. Of course, now, you know, they're going to be building 2,000 houses out there right across the street. So, yeah, what the hell?
I know. But it's, my whole thing is Sussex County needs to do some
Put
kind
it to the play.